Hey guys, Austin here, doing something a little bit different than usual. I know I've been saying that a lot lately, but this one is by far the most different. This isn't an overview or a review or a gameplay and talk or, it's not any of that. This is actually a straight up long play, and I know long plays are pretty popular with certain groups here on YouTube. I know probably most of my subscribers aren't going to be interested in this, but I've always kind of wanted to do one of these just for shits and giggles, and this is my first one. I don't know how often I'm going to do this or how much time I'm going to be able to have to be able to do this, because these they do take a little bit longer depending on the game, but this is actually kind of killing two birds with one stone, though, in that I finally got a video capture card, or an external capture box, and this is kind of a test run with it. I've been fiddling around with it for a little bit today, and I kind of wanted to see how long it would last, see if the software that I record it with would bug up or anything like that, and just see the general quality. So, but at the same time, just recently YouTube has broken their time limit, and so this would kind of be testing that as well to see how long I can go. This video is actually about 70 minutes long. I think it's like an hour and 10 minutes long, and I end up beating the whole game. I almost one credit clear it, but I make a really stupid mistake towards the end of the game. You guys will see that for anyone that sticks around, and yeah, I basically one credit cleared this game. But I really did make a stupid mistake towards the end. But, yeah, I figured this would be a good pick for my first long play. Well, first, as in, the possibility I might do more. Right now, this is going to be the only one, but we'll see what happens. If I get some feedback on this, if people want to see more long plays, I'll pick some other games. Maybe it's just some shorter games. This game takes about an hour to beat, unless you rush through it very quickly. And I play this at a fairly brisk pace overall, and but I do take my time actually a little bit more than I would normally playing this game. Normally I skip a lot of the candles, but just for the sake of trying to point out where items are and stuff like that, I tried to hit most of the candles. There's a few I still skip throughout the game, but if I see a candle and I'm near it, I will hit it. In this video anyways. Normally I just try to blaze through the game as quickly as I can, but yeah, all in all, the game takes about an hour to get through, which is why the video is as long as it is, and me dying towards the end of the game actually only tacked on probably an extra 2 or 3 minutes. That was needless, so, but yeah. Yeah, so here we go. This is, I don't think I said it, but this is the Japanese version of Super Castlevania 4. And gameplay-wise and enemy placement-wise, the game is it's identical to the US release. Not sure about the European release. I haven't played that one, but for you guys wanting to see a long play of the American version of this game, it's the same thing, so don't worry. There are a couple of graphical differences that you'll see later on in the game. There are a couple sound differences as well. If you notice, the whip sound is actually different, and I think there's another sound or two in the game that's also different, but the whip primarily has a different tone to it. One thing you'll notice also, for you guys that have played the American one, there are a few background elements that are a little bit different. Like there in the background, you actually see crosses in the ground. I guess tombstones, perhaps, they're crosses. In the American one, those crosses were taken out, replaced with something else. And there are a few minor little details like that thrown throughout the game. And the score, and player life, and enemy, and all the text up top basically is also a different font in the Japanese version, which is also kind of interesting. I'm not sure why they changed that over to the American release. I actually like the American text a little bit better. I think it's shinier. Maybe that's why they changed it. They thought it would be a little bit brighter, or flashier. But yeah, here we go. This is just the first level, or was the first level. I pretty much talked all the way through it. But the good old map screen uses a little bit of mode 7. This is level 2. This is actually one of the longer stages in the game, I believe, as you can tell by that map run right there. Not very difficult. Most of these levels, actually, for the first half of the game, really aren't very difficult. I don't know, this game, compared to other Castlevania games especially, I feel it's actually a really easy game. Hence, I can pretty much one credit clear it without much hassle at all, without much trouble. And for any of you guys that might have troubles with this game, I know it was difficult when I was a kid when I first played it. But you know, as I played it more, I started memorizing the levels a little bit, got familiar with everything. You know, I was eventually able to just roll through the game, even as a kid. I was able to roll through it without too much problem. And but for some of you people that might be new to this game and might have a bit of a hard time, just watch how I play. You know, just try to copy the motions, and you should do fine if you're having troubles at any certain part in the game. And one thing I love about this game is that you can whip in any direction, or at least you can whip, you know, in 8 different directions. And unlike other Castlevanias, this really lets you kind of take your time with the game. And your whip is so long, it almost goes all the way to the other side of the screen. And if you just kind of poke your way through the game, like you kind of see me doing, and you know, for certain enemies, you just whip up or whip diagonally up to hit them instead of jumping to whip them. You'll do pretty well. And you can play a little aggressive too, and I tend to play pretty aggressive in this game. And but I think it's partially because I know how many hits each enemy takes generally. Like those skeletons, for the first half of the game, they only take 1 hit with your whip. So when you see a skeleton, you know you can just, you know, jump right through him while whipping him, and he'll explode basically. So the good old rubber band. Sorry, ropes, whatever. Kind of brain dead right now. A little tired. Been up for quite a bit. Lack of sleep as well. But good old Medusa. You can just duck her her stone spell or whatever you want to call it, and notice I've got the cross. I've been just... Oops, not anymore. The cross is by far the best, or the boomerang, if that's what you want to call it, is by far the best special weapon in the game. Especially on bosses. So, always hold on to that if you can. The axe is pretty good too, on certain bosses and certain kinds of enemies, but generally you'll be fine just having the cross. Those red spikes up there, I think they might be on this portion of the map as well. You do not want to touch them. It's instant death if you do. And they kind of mesh in with the background a little bit. And there's also an extra life here, right there. Yep. If you just whip up behind one of those pillars, there's an extra life. But yeah, back to those spike things. Are they going to appear again? I think it's just on that first screen. Yeah, they're not on this one. But if you touch them, it's instant death. And you can only touch them by jumping. And so make sure you watch out for those. There's also some spikes in the ground back there in that water portion. But yeah, back to kind of being aggressive. What I was saying was a lot of enemies, well, every enemy in this game basically takes a certain amount of hits, and once you know how many hits each enemy takes, you can use that to your advantage in terms of speeding through the game quicker. And you notice how you can jump and attack diagonally down and forward, which keeps you moving while still attacking, which is awesome. You can't really do that in any other Castlevania game. And for instance, those skeletons in the first half of the game, you can just you know, do your diagonally down and forward whipping attack while jumping, and you'll just continuously move while killing enemies at the same time. It's really useful if you want to just keep moving while destroying everything in your sight. And you could toss the boomerang right there also to knock all those candles down. I love doing that. That's the holy water right there. I never really used that weapon in this game at all. I used it a lot in other Castlevania games, but never in this game. The cross is so good, there's really no point in using the holy water. Back in the original Castlevania, the Axe Armor Knights at I think level 6, you know, took a lot of hits, and the holy water was essential for destroying them. But in this game, they reappear, those enemies reappear, but I think they only take like 4 or 5 hits with the whip, and you whip really quickly in this game, so you don't even need the holy water on those guys. They're a good bit easier than they were before. And notice that you can do the same thing with the whipping in the air while moving, just to hit candles. So, and when you touch the ground again after jumping and attacking, there's not really a pause or anything, you just keep moving. So, you'll see me constantly just moving through this game. And that's one of the things I really love about this game, is that I can just really blaze through it. Whereas other Castlevania games, you kind of have to pause every so often to, you know, whip a candle or, you know, hit an enemy. And this one, there's that constant motion. I mean, if that's your play style anyway, you can still play it old Castlevania style, but I like to just keep going. And that jump right there is a little difficult to get the hang of. You have to be really precise with that. There are quite a few jumps in this game that are like that, and there's another one coming up right here, which I'm sure some people have had problems with in the past, right here. Yeah. If you notice, it almost looks like you don't even touch the platform, and most of your body is hanging off it still, but the game still registers you as touching the platform, so you latch onto it. And those falling blocks, once you see those falling blocks starting to come, just sit still. If you move out, they'll fall in different patterns, and they're really unpredictable when that happens. But once you see that water dripping, which indicates that they're about to fall, just sit still, and they'll just fall in the same spot. I think like 4 or 5 blocks falls down. So, and that's yep, a dagger. The dagger isn't particularly useful either in this game. I mean, it is and it isn't, but with the boomerang, again, there's not much point in using it. This part right here, you know, if you fall in that water, it's instant death. You want to be careful about the mermen that pop up. They kind of pop up somewhat randomly. And when you whip onto that hook, you want to make sure that your body doesn't touch the merman as you're swinging to the other platform. Otherwise, if you hit them, you'll end up getting knocked out from your your swing and you'll die. So I've had many deaths at that part when I was younger, so take it from me. And here's a great example of your whip being completely badass in this game. You just get behind that guy and whip him from complete safety, which is awesome. It's really some things you can't do in the old Castlevania games, and it's one of the things that really makes this game great. So again, as you can tell, the boomerang is pretty awesome in this game, so... Especially when you get the icon that I got to be able to throw it 2 and 3 times, it becomes extremely useful. And you can actually time it to where, you know, you throw 3 out, and the second one of them hits you, you can toss another one out, and then the second one hits you, and you can toss another one out, and you can just keep throwing them out in succession, which is pretty cool. This is a great tune right here. Love the music in this game. I pretty much love actually everything about this game. Not everyone loves Castlevania 4, but yeah, I'm one of those people that really enjoys it. I was really blown away by it when I was a kid. I mean, I think I was in like 3rd grade when the Super Nintendo came out, and Super Castlevania 4 was one of the first games I played, and I was already you know, just as a young kid in elementary school, I was already a huge fan of Castlevania. I had played and beaten all the NES ones. So this is one of those series that I played a lot when I was a kid. And when this one came out, it just really blew the others away. It took all the elements from the old ones, like the square staircases that you see right there, the flippy platforms that you see right here. It just completely beefed the graphics up, and the sound was amazing. I mean, for 1991 especially, this just blew my mind, and it remained impressive to me, actually, all the way probably through till the end of the 90s. The Super Nintendo was had to have some of the best launch games in like gaming history that really took advantage of the system, probably to the fullest extent. And you know, this is one of those examples here. But the Super Nintendo had a lot of games like that, like Super Ghouls and Ghosts and Super Mario World and F-Zero, Pilot Wings. It's just like, geez, there hasn't really been a platform since that has had a launch quite like that. And but yeah, needless to say, I played this game a lot when I was a kid, and blown away by it. And it's still my my favorite Castlevania game in the series, and I mean, I love the Metroidvania style Castlevania games as well, and I've played pretty much all of those. But this one definitely, I guess, holds a certain place in my mind, or heart, or however you want to put it. And part of it is probably also that once you really know what you're doing compared to the other ones, you can have pretty much complete control of the game at all points. And I absolutely love playing games that are like that. Yeah, this portion right here is always a little trippy. There's a lot of slowdown in this game, but I never really let it bother me. Some people can't get over the slow factor or the slowdown in this game, but it never really bothered me at all. It still doesn't bother me now, even though, you know, basically every game we play on, say, the 360 and PS3 is 60 frames a second frame rate with really no slowdown at all, unless it's some kind of, you know, slowdown on purpose. But as like a graphical effect or something like that, or a gameplay effect. But I probably don't mind slowdown as much as other people because I played a hell of a lot of Nintendo games, and there was a lot of slowdown in Nintendo games. But even in those cases, I didn't let it bother me too much. So where are we right now? We're at 4-4. I think this is about a third of the way through the game. This boss always impressed me as well when I was, well, just in general. It uses the mode 7 and does a really good job of it too. You know, the developers of this game really were creative with the bosses and just the game in general. I could imagine them at like company or developer meetings, you know, right as the you know, the Super Nintendo's hardware was announced and they signed on. They were probably like, "Oh man, we can do this with this kind of stuff and do this, and you know, wow, look at this mode 7 and this has never been seen before. We can do some crazy stuff with this. Let's just see how far we could take it." And yeah, needless to say, those guys got pretty creative with how they utilized the mode 7. You know, as far as background effects and in boss fights, and you know, for instance, that last boss right there, he kept getting smaller and smaller, which was pretty cool. And that's all thanks to the mode 7. I always like this tune right here. It's dark, depressing. It really fits the theme of the game, though. There's actually a really good... I think that someone did a remix of this. It's like a hard rock or heavy metal remix of this on ocremix.com. And I'm pretty sure there is also a remix of this, or a rock or metal cover on one of the original Dracula Battle remake soundtracks. I don't know if it's Dracula Battle 1 or 2. But if you like Castlevania music and you haven't heard of the Dracula Battles, definitely check those out. They came out in the early 90s, I think, and they're damn near impossible to find original copies of, because they were released in Japan only, and probably in pretty limited amounts as well. But the hard rock remixes they do on there are just downright awesome. Alright, now we're inside Dracula's castle. You notice those statues in the background, they are pretty much naked. In the American version, they cover them up with cloth tunics or something like that. I actually tried to grab the holy water. I thought the holy water was down to the left there, but it was not. It was above. So much for that. The holy water really does still pretty much rape these guys, but I mean, as you can see right there, I'm really just plowing through them anyways with my whip. It looks like they take 4 hits initially, so I think a couple stages in they start to take 5 hits, but here's another example of the pretty creative use of the Mode 7. I don't know actually exactly if that's Mode 7 strictly. I know the whatever hardware they use to, you know, for those effects, there's different modes that the graphics processor can be put in. Mode 7 is one of them, which gets you the sort of pseudo 3D background scaling. There are other modes, like I don't know if this is strictly Mode 7 right here, or if it's another one of the modes, but it gives a similar effect. It's pretty cool though. Now there's actually a secret right here. Kill the dog. Old man starts to cry. As far as I know, there's one more of these secrets like this in the game. I don't know if I cover every secret in this game, and every secret wall, and all that sort of stuff, but I think I get the majority of it. But yeah, the other secret is in, or the secret doorway is in, the... What's it called? I don't even know what the stage name is, but, it's the place of gold where pretty much money is just everywhere. That's also one of my favorite stages in the game, but we'll get to that shortly. And those white grooms, or whatever you want to call them, if I think they stop right in front of you, and then they disappear, and then they'll randomly appear nearby you, so you have to really watch out for them. Well, try to kill them immediately, otherwise they'll disappear and then just reappear at the most inconvenient time. So I think at this point the skeletons are taking 2 hits now. So you gotta be a little more careful. Because as you can see, when you get to platforming areas like this, you don't want to get knocked down. A possessed coffin, I guess? I don't know. I think that's actually probably the best way to do that part, is just to keep running from it and then turn around. Because if you try to turn around and hit it right as you pass it, I think it'll hit you. Typically, you don't have enough time to attack it. I think it takes 2 hits, and you don't have enough time to hit it again to destroy it. So, the good old red skeletons. They've been in pretty much every Castlevania game. In some Castlevania games, they give you a lot of points. In this one, they don't really give you a lot. They give you a little bit, but not a ton. In some Castlevania games, like the Akumajo X68000 or Castlevania Chronicles for you American folks, they actually give you a lot of points, and they actually continuously spawn. So you'll destroy one, and then another one will appear, and then you destroy that again, and then another one appears, and eventually you have 10 or 12 skeletons, red skeletons, that constantly are coming back, and every time you kill them you get points. You know, a lot of points, mind you. And you can actually sit around and camp for a little bit and earn a couple extra lives. And still have enough time to go and finish the stage. So, but you can't really do that in this game. I mean, you can, but it's not really worth it. They only give you like 100 or 200 points or something, and nothing too crazy, so it's really not worth it. It's an extra life. Now this boss here actually used to kick my ass when I was a kid, but it's really not difficult at all, especially if you have the boomerang. I'm sort of taking my time even. But there we go. Now this next level can actually be a little bit tricky. Actually, the next few stages can be a little tricky. I'd say really at this point is where the game's difficulty starts to kick up. Not so much in like enemy patterns and so forth, but there is more risky platforming that happens. As in pretty much instant death platforming. So you gotta be a little more careful. I think I also start rushing through a little bit quicker by this point. When I was playing this, I was actually looking over at my computer monitor where the capture software runs from, and I was like, oh man, we're already at like the half-an-hour mark or something like that. I was like, oh, I gotta speed it up. Now this part's fun. I always just fall straight down. Now you gotta kind of know where the end is. Like right here. But yeah, that's a way to speed through that part. You just drop through the stairs. If you're on the stairs, you actually just hold down and jump, and you'll drop from the stairs, and that's really, really useful. If you jump and press up and jump, I think it's up and jump, yeah. Up and jump on the stairs, you'll actually latch to the stairs, so you can jump onto stairs in this game, which is cool. And this was the first Castlevania where you could do that. And the only other Castlevania you could do that in was Dracula X. Rondo of Blood for the PC Engine Duo, as well as Dracula X for the Super Nintendo. Or Dracula XX, as it's known in Japan. Which I might actually do a long play of that one. I'm not sure when, but that one's a good bit shorter. I think I can beat that in about 20 or 30 minutes. It's a lot shorter than this game. I really don't like it as much as this one, especially compared to the Turbo Duo one. I would much rather play the Turbo Duo Dracula X. Which I actually have on the Wii. I could do a long play of that in the future. Maybe. I'm not nearly as good as that one. So I'll end up dying probably a good bit more. And watching these long plays probably isn't really all that entertaining if the player constantly dies. So what I'll probably do for these long plays, if I continue to do them, or if I do more, I'll probably just do games I'm really, really comfortable with, that I can roll through with, typically without dying, or just, you know, you know, in a life or two. You know, if I die once or twice, no big deal, but if I'm dying like 30 times on a video, there's just really no point in doing it. I'd feel sorry for the people that have to watch that. But there's a meat right there. There's a lot of meat thrown throughout this game, actually, and once you figure out where those are, you kind of pace yourself. If you get hit, you know, there's no big deal. You know, a little piece of meat is coming up, and that'll refill, I think, 4 or 5 blocks of health. And that addition isn't in any other Castlevania game, as far as I know. The little pieces of meat. I mean, not only you have your regular steaks or whatever you call it, big slabs of meat, which give you probably almost 2/3 of your life back. But I think this is the only one. There you go. There's another little piece of meat. I think this was the only one that had little pieces of meat in it. So you had more options, or you had more opportunities to regain your health, which makes it a little bit easier. This boss here is always intimidating, but really his pattern is not too bad. You just have to jump over the fire. He does throw his axe, which you have to watch out for. I think if he's farther, or I'm sorry, I'm stuttering here. I think if he blah blah blah, I'm doing it again. If he's far back enough and he throws the axe, I think you can duck it, so long as you're on his same level. You might be able to jump it, but I don't recall. It's been a while since I've seen him do that. But and we go to the dungeon. Probably one of the coolest levels in the game, and since we're playing the Japanese version, it's a little more grotesque than the American one. All of the acid from the American version is actually blood in this one, so you got pools of blood, and the choppers or spike things or whatever you want to call them right there that I'm standing on, they actually have blood on them, and that blood was removed in the American version as well. So I actually did a gameplay and talk on Super Castlevania 4, and actually did a quick comparison of them at the end of the video. So if you want to see all the comparisons side by side, or the differences, I mean, you can just search for Castlevania 4 on my upload section, and it should pop up. Gameplay and Talk V2, Super Castlevania 4, and Akumajo Dracula. And that's what we're playing here, Akumajo Dracula for the Super Famicom. But it's the same game as Super Castlevania 4, minus the few graphical differences, like I said. Now you can actually stand on the edge of that platform and not get hit by that the chopper thing, and still hit the skeleton tower to the right with your whip. You don't even have to use your axe. But, I think I actually demonstrate that in my gameplay and talk video of Super Castlevania 4, but not here. I try to play it safe in this one. Actually, I think I play it safe in this video more than I normally do when I play this game. Oftentimes I'm a little reckless when I play this game, but I'm pretty sure I'm playing a little bit safer. There we go, big meat. Yeah, having played the hell out of this game when I was a kid, I mean, I'm so used to the acid on this level, and just seeing all the blood and stuff is still pretty cool. I think I actually like the green acid more. It gives the level, I don't know how to put it, but it seems to vary the scenery up a little bit more than it does in this one. But it's still really cool seeing kind of the same thing, but yeah, with a different color, or seeing the same thing but it's different at the same time. I don't really even know how to put it. the discolored stairs. If you attack them, they'll break, and the pieces that fall apart from that will hurt you. So you want to make sure you don't get hit by those. Just try not to hit them. Period. You know, it's just better that way. Now that blood right there, you can actually walk on that, much like the acid in the American version. Doesn't hurt you either, as far as I remember. But there are a few endless pits in this stage, so you want to watch out for those, though. And there's going to be a few coming up here in just a moment. And here's another feature that wasn't really in any other Castlevania game, the ability to crawl, which is pretty cool. Oh, you see, I just did it right there. Bad idea. But, yeah, this part can be a little tricky sometimes. Those platforms are kind of randomized. Sometimes you'll get a really good pattern, and sometimes you won't. So, I actually got pretty close right there to missing my jump. So, but I lucked out. It's Frankenstein. He's in a lot of Castlevania games. I know a lot of people really disliked his boss battle in the first Castlevania, where he has the hunchback jumping at you while he's attacking you. It's pretty difficult, especially considering how stiff the first Castlevania is, or pretty much the first 3 Castlevania games are really stiff. But, this one is stiff in its own way. It has a kind of an odd movement to it, but once you learn how you know, your whip works and how accurate it is and precise it is, you know, you kind of understand why the game moves the way it does. And yeah, this is the stage with all the money and the gold and all that good stuff. There's lots of money bags here. So, some potentials for extra lives. You notice I'm at 9 lives already. I don't think I've ever had that many lives playing this game. I always want to kill that guy first before you try to jump up here, because usually he'll throw a bone at you and hit you before you get up there. And since those money platforms disappear, you only get one chance to get up there. Same with right here. You only get one chance to get across, so... Now, one thing I do wrong here is I should have stayed down back in that left-hand corner and try to kill this skeleton, because if you try to you know, grab the hooks and get across, she's gonna throw a bone at you and you're gonna get hit. I think there's some meat up there and some extra items and stuff like that. The meat is really the important part, to just keep your life up, to kind of ensure your survival. Now this part can be a little tricky too. Again, you only have one chance to get through it, so just keep moving. But there are a couple skeletons that pop up here, and if you're not careful, they hit you and you get knocked off the edge, and you gotta do the whole thing over. I think if you die before this part, you have to start all the way back at the beginning of the level, so it's another reason why you want to be careful. There's the good old stopwatch. It's a weapon that, or an item that I don't really use in this game at all either. I just really have no need for it. But for you guys that feel like you need to stop your enemies for a short moment, it's there. Now those little treasure chests there, you can jump on them, and money pops out. There's actually a secret in this game where I think it works on any of those treasure chests. If you jump a certain amount of times on them, a meat will fall from the sky, and to replenish your health a little bit. You have to jump on them a ridiculous amount of times. Like, I want to say it's like 90-something times or something crazy like that. I don't recall the exact number. It was actually in one of the tips and tricks sections in Nintendo Power back in the day, telling you how to do it. And it's probably not something you're gonna do unless you have a lot of time on your hands, but it's there, which is kind of a novelty. But that's the other secret area. You walk into that cave up on that platform. I still don't quite understand why that coffin is there. I don't think anything's there, so... But, there's just money everywhere in this part, so... Lots of points. Points can give you extra lives in this game. Although not as frequently as they do in other Castlevania games, but... No, I probably should have gone up the other way, because if you go up this way, to the right, you have to kill this guy from behind. Because once you go up a certain way on the screen, and the platforms disappear, you can't go back. You can't backtrack on these vertical segments, so... If you fall, and whatever platforms were below you have dipped below the screen line on the bottom, then you'll die if you fall down, so... You gotta be real careful about that. It's a lot like the old Contra games. Getting close to the boss. And I'm having a hard time whipping. My controller is actually a little odd, and sometimes when I would try to whip diagonally, it wouldn't come out properly, and I'd end up swinging it or swerving the whip instead. Which, when you don't hit directly on in one of the normal 8 directions, you hardly do any damage. So just swinging your whip in just any random direction isn't really useful unless you're attacking just your regular bat or bird enemies. That's it. Any other enemies, it's hardly going to do any damage, so you're probably setting yourself up for getting hit if you just wiggle your whip however you like. There you go. When you hit those gold bats, money falls out of them or gold falls out of them. If you get hit by that, you do get hurt, so it's best to stand directly below them and hit up, straight up, because the gold bounces off to both left and right, but not directly below you, or below them, onto you. This is where the Castlevania remixes start to kick in. And hearing the renditions of Bloody Tears just was awesome when this game came out. Hearing the renditions of, you know, really all the popular Castlevania tunes from parts 1, 2, and 3 were awesome. Back in good old 1991. As of recording this video, it's been 19 years. Almost 20. It's the end of December now as I am recording this, so almost 20 years. You'd ever think I'd be recording a video of it 20 years after it came out? I don't think I ever had any idea. I almost died right there when I jumped on those falling platforms. The slowdown kind of messed me up, and I had whipped at the same time, which I lost some time. Now, right up here is actually where I die stupidly. Not quite right here, but up in the next screen, you'll see. Now, this part right here is actually a little tricky as well, because there is an armored skeleton to the right, and he's got a lot of reach, but what you can do is actually jump above him and jump directly onto the stairs. Because if you land there and you're too close to the edge, he's going to hit you, you're going to get knocked off, you're going to have to do the area over again, which is a pain. Watch out for those dropping cogs as well. If you take your time in this part, it's really not too bad. Unlike Castlevania Chronicles or the X68000 version of Castlevania. Now this is where I die. I do something stupid. You don't want to whip up and hit the hooks, otherwise you're going to attach to it like that. And I run into the guy and he knocks me off the edge. That's the only time I die. Had I not done that, I probably would have 1 credit cleared this game. So it's kind of depressing. I was actually looking forward to saying that I 1 credit cleared this game. On video, nonetheless. But, no. This is actually a better example of just swinging up above the guy. Right there, just like that. Fancy tricks, I guess. That's a good shortcut. So, a safe shortcut. Gotta wait for the hooks to disappear, so I don't accidentally latch onto them. And I basically have to do the same thing up here, but it's a little more challenging because of how, you know, I'm positioned. You'll see that in just a moment. This is kind of like the obligatory clock tower stage. I think there's been a clock tower level in just about every Castlevania game in existence. It's kind of a staple in the series. Now this is the part I was talking about where it gets a little tricky. So I just end up throwing a lot of boomerangs, trying to be safe because I don't want what happened to me 2 minutes ago happen to me again. So I'm being extra careful right here. There we go. It took a little while, but I guess it was worth it. And here we go. Last stretch of this level, and then we get to the boss, which is the mummy. He's not too terribly difficult, but I admit I was panicking a little bit because I didn't want to fall off the edge. Because of falling off the edge just about a few minutes ago, I didn't want to do it again, so I'm being a little less aggressive than I normally would be in this boss. This part right here especially, it looks like those are hitting me, but they're not, which is kind of weird. Which I'm actually thankful for. I didn't want to get knocked off in the opposite direction and fall off, so... Yeah, if he's down there, you can throw your boomerang, as you can see, but you can't whip him. He sits too low. Now, you can swing your whip, but you don't do a whole lot of damage, like I said, so if you have the boomerang, you're better off just using that. Hero pose for the win. This is the, yeah, the vampire killer theme from the original Castlevania. And there's another little shortcut right there. Kind of like I did back on stage 7, but it's a little more risky on this stage. But, I always like to just blaze through that vertical area, so give it a shot yourself if you haven't tried that before. And again, here's an example of just continuously moving while still whipping the candles, which is great. Whatever you do not want to stop and whip the candles, because the bats will hit you, and then the bridge will just fall from underneath you. So, if you want to hit the candles, you got to keep moving. Now this part right here, that spike ring on the bottom will follow you up the screen, so you have to be really quick here. And you also have to be precise, because the staircases are falling down, they don't respawn, so if you make one mistake here, you're pretty much dead. This level used to give me a hell of a time when I was a kid, and I don't have a problem with it anymore. I can just roll right through it. The trick is to always hold up on the stairs. Don't hold in any other direction, you know, just to be safe, because one little mistake and you're pretty much done. But the ring actually doesn't come up any farther than that platform right there, so... And this is another tricky part of the stage. Not too bad right here, but the trickiest part is right towards the end, and I'll point that out when I get to it. And I'll point out how I do it. You'll see how I do it, but I'll explain it as well. Good 1-2 punch. A quick axe and a whip to his face. Alright, now this part right here, you jump on the first 2, I believe, and then you walk off the other 2. Okay, right here. Okay, you jump on the first one, then you walk off 2 platforms. If you jump a second time, you're gonna get hit by the spikes at the top, and you're gonna die, and you're gonna have to start from the very bottom again. Now this guy, I'm sure most of you guys have seen this character in future Castlevania games. He used to be one of the hardest bosses in this game. I used to always die at this guy. And I found out probably just a few years ago that you can actually duck his spear, as you can see me doing. So, his first half of the form, what you want to do is just duck the whole time. He doesn't charge at you or anything like that in this form. Now, this part, I tend to just attack diagonally down and forward like that. He will charge at you, so that's the trickiest part. I really don't think there's any way to avoid his charge attack. So, just as long as you have enough life, you should be fine. Every time you hit him, move straight over to the other side of the screen, and then you should be good to go. If he hits you once or twice, no big deal. As long as you know, you've got enough life when you got to this point. But there's some meat if you do get hit, which is why it's no big deal. I think there's like 3 or 4 meats here. You basically get almost all your life back. So, and this second boss right here, he's a walk in the park. He's no problem at all. And he also appears in a lot of later Castlevania games. First originated in this game, though, I believe. I should have ducked. You can duck those fireballs. Here's his second form. He's not really any more difficult. Except I'm being a little reckless at this point, being stupid. There we go. And we get some more meat to fill my life. And we're gonna fight Death. Which Death, he also used to give me a hell of a time when I was younger. It's not too bad so long as you're precise. and you make good use of your hits. You definitely do not want to whiff on this guy. Or run into him like that. This was actually kind of a close call for me. I think one more hit, I would have been dead. Some really cool lighting effects right here. Back in 1991, just stuff like this, the little details. I mean, you had never really seen anything like that before in a game before. And here's the famous secret. It's the very last boss fight, but there's this secret here that pretty much refills all your items. So you definitely want to grab that before fighting Dracula. Dracula really isn't too difficult compared to his forms in other Castlevania games, but you do still have to be careful. I'm honestly a little reckless in this. I wasn't really thinking, and I almost die in this boss fight just because I'm playing really stupid. But I don't die. I get close, but I don't die. But point is, this guy really isn't all that difficult. But if you don't take your time, you might still, you know, get your ass handed to you by him. I was being a little reckless on that ball he shoots out. As you can see, when you hit that ball, it turns into a meat, which is pretty useful. Now, they're obviously a little more generous in this game to you than other Castlevania games. I don't know if that was a design choice or, you know, if they wanted to try to make this Castlevania more accessible to other people. But, there is actually a harder mode that you access once you beat the game. After the credits roll, a new game starts, and it's a little more difficult. I don't think it's absurdly more difficult, but there are definitely a few more enemies thrown about, and I think enemies do more damage to you as well. But that's basically it right there. That's the end of the game. Not too terribly difficult. But it's just a good romp. I always enjoy playing this game. You know, I was watching Lazy Game Reviews. I don't know if you've seen that. I recommend checking it out big time if you haven't. But he did one review, you know, and he mentioned that how the game was his comfort game. His comfort game, I mean. And Castlevania 4 is kind of like my comfort game. I can always come back to it. I always feel good playing it. And I can always roll through it in about an hour. So it doesn't eat up a lot of time either. It's fun to play. It's relaxing to me, honestly. It's not too stressful. I guess just because I know exactly what to do and I can just roll right through it. But, yeah, this is the ending. I guess it wouldn't be a long play without the ending. Alright, now, aside from, Akumajo X68000, which is Castlevania Chronicles here in America, which was released on PlayStation, that would be the last Castlevania game to feature more of the realistic, sort of gothic style visuals. After that, it would the series would kind of have like a graphical reboot with the Dracula X Rondo of Blood on the PC Engine Duo. And from there on, the series has really stuck with that sort of anime style for the most part. I know the latest DS game, or the latest as of recording this video, Order of Ecclesia, they use sort of a mixture of the two styles, the anime and the original kind of gothic style, realistic style character portraits and art and stuff like that. But I think that's one reason why this also still sticks out in my head, or still stands out to me, because it took like the original Castlevania style, made it even more realistic looking and detailed, and you know, the sprites were much larger and all that good stuff. And you know, with Rondo of Blood on the Turbo Duo, you know, it used the whole anime motive, and then the whole series kind of started to look kind of the same from there on. It wasn't a bad thing at all. I mean, the series was still excellent afterwards, but this one definitely still stands out the most to me in terms of the visuals and the styling and so forth. I kind of wish the series stuck with that and kept evolving with that, but hey, whatever. This is the point in the video where I ramble on. Not that I haven't been doing it for the last hour, but if you got to this point and you're still listening, thank you. I hope it was entertaining, or it was at least fun to watch. Maybe you learned a thing or two, maybe you didn't. Maybe you could teach me a thing or two. If that's the case, post a comment below. Or post a comment below anyways. Let me know that you watched this. Let me know that you actually got to this point. That'd be pretty cool. Hey, I watched all the way through your video. Your video sucks. Oh, well, thanks, buddy. That's what I'm talking about right there in that part. You know, that dude totally would have gotten hit and got knocked off that platform. It's a tricky part. And the game doesn't have a ton of tricky sections like that, but there are a few portions of the game where you got to be really careful, otherwise you're gonna be repeating them quite a bit. And there's probably nothing worse than dying a few times, getting a game over, than having to start all the way from the beginning of the stage again, only to die again once you get to that part the next time. Oh man, I'm tired. Alright, well that's basically it. That's the ending. Now, I was actually downstairs grabbing a drink while this whole ending was running, so I don't know how long this portion of the screen sat there for. It'll sit like this until you press something, and then it'll start a new game. And I do eventually push something. I don't know how long that's gonna be from now, but but yeah, guys, this is, like I said, this is my first long play. I'm not sure how many more of these I'm going to do or how often I'm going to do this, but I thought it would be fun to do it with one of my favorite games of all time. And it was fun to do. And I actually did the commentary part after recording the gameplay footage, if you couldn't already tell. And I was actually going to try to do it kind of like my gameplay and talk series, where I talk and play at the same time. But I grabbed a mic stand, but then I realized that I didn't have a mic clip, so I had no way to put the mic on the stand, and it was just too inconvenient. So I decided to just kind of ghetto rig my mic and do a voice track or voiceover afterwards. So okay, here we go. Back to the game. I don't actually play it, but yeah. Anyways, guys, that's basically it. Again, I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more of these long play videos, you know, just subscribe and then you know, post a comment on my my profile, and I'll see about trying to maybe get more of these out if some of you guys are actually interested in this. If not, I'll probably end up just continue to focus on the gameplay and talks like I normally do. And now that I have an appropriate capture card with some so-so video quality, I'll probably start getting more straight-up gameplay footage videos as well. Gameplay footage videos are actually a little bit easier to do than my gameplay and talk series, so there's not as much effort put into them, and I don't always feel like talking about every game in existence, so, and nor do I always have a whole lot to say about every game, so sometimes just straight-up gameplay footage is a little more appropriate. But yeah, if you want to see more of these, just let me know, and I'll try to get more out. But again, this has been fun, so yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and take it easy until next time.